Good morning, everyone. My name is Mariam Youssef, and today I'm representing Group H on the topic of should African nations prioritize genetic research into diseases prevalent on the continent, example, sickle cell anemia, malaria, and HIV over global collaborative research initiatives? And today I proudly stand with the negative theme. While diseases like sickle cell anemia, malaria, and HIV are indeed critical concerns for Africa, we believe that isolating research efforts is not the best path forward. African nations should engage in global collaboration rather than working alone. This approach opens the door to advanced technologies, a wide range of scientific expertise, and more reliable long-term funding. By partnering with the international community, Africa can not only accelerate medical breakthroughs, but also strengthen its research infrastructure and ensure that its health priorities stay on the global agenda. We firmly believe that African nations should not prioritize local genetic research at the expense of global collaboration. In today's highly interconnected world, scientific progress is driven by partnerships. Working with international collaborators allow Africa to tap into broader resources, share knowledge, and benefit from cutting-edge innovations. This cooperative approach leads to faster breakthroughs, stronger research infrastructure, and more impactful health solutions, not just for Africa, but for the world. Our first argument is about the power of shared knowledge in accelerating scientific discovery. By collaborating with international research teams, African scientists gain access to cutting-edge technologies, vast datasets, and specialized expertise, resources that may not be readily available locally. Diseases like HIV and malaria are global in nature, and major breakthroughs often result from cross-border collaboration and large-scale international studies. This kind of partnership leads to faster, more effective solutions that benefit both African populations and global health. Our second argument is that genetic research should never be limited by borders. It's a global issue. Many genetic conditions affect people worldwide, and collaborative efforts help build stronger genetic databases that led to better treatment for everyone. If Africa were to focus only on local research, it would miss the opportunity to contribute to and benefit from global discoveries. More importantly, excluding African genetic data would limit progress in understanding human genetic diversity, which is crucial for improving disease prevention and treatment across all populations. For our third point, it focuses on a practical reality, funding and infrastructure. Most African nations currently lack the financial resources, advanced equipment, and research infrastructure needed to carry out high-quality genetic research on their own. This is where international collaborations become essential. They bring in not only funding but also training, mentorship, and access to world-class laboratories, helping African scientists grow and contribute meaningfully to global research. Collaboration isn't a compromise, it's a catalyst for Africa's scientific progress. For the fourth argument, focusing solely on local research can lead to scientific isolation, limiting Africa's contribution to global advancement. In today's rapidly evolving scientific landscape, international collaboration is the key. Many significant breakthroughs, particularly in genetics, are the result of global partnerships. For Africa to remain competitive and continue contributing to cutting-edge discoveries and new treatments, it's crucial that the continent stays engaged in these international initiatives. For our fifth and last argument point, Africa faces a unique set of health challenges, including diseases like sickle cell anemia and malaria, but the continent is also increasingly dealing with emerging threats such as cancer, diabetes, and neurological disorders. By engaging in global collaborations, African researchers gain the opportunity to tackle a broader spectrum of health issues, rather than being limited to a narrow focus. This diversity in research efforts is vital for addressing the full range of health challenges Africa faces today. So now let's address the first point of the rebuttal, ethical considerations. Some argue that Africa's historical experiences with exploitation and research warrant a complete break from global collaborations to protect genetic data and communities. However, our response is that while these concerns are valid, isolation is not the solution. Instead, the focus should be on strengthening regulatory frameworks and engaging in global research partnerships with clear, ethical, data sharing agreements. A strong example of this approach is the Human Hereditary and Health in Africa, H3A Africa initiative, which has successfully shown that Africa-led, internationally collaborative research can be conducted ethically and without exploitation. Additionally, on the topic of foreign aid dependency, rejecting global collaborations does not ensure sustainable funding for African research. Many African nations still now face healthcare infrastructure challenges. Expecting them to independently fund large-scale genetic research may be unrealistic. Instead, African nations should negotiate favorable terms that prioritize local interests while effectively utilizing global resources. So now let's move on to the second point, regulatory reinforcement. Some argue that global partnerships undermine African governance in genetic research. However, our response is that global collaboration do not inherently weaken African governance. The real solution is better regulation, not isolation. A strong example is the African CDC Genomics program, which has partnered with international organizations while ensuring that African researchers remain at the forefront of these initiatives. Furthermore, many groundbreaking studies such as the research on COVID-19 variants conducted in South Africa were made possible through global collaboration but were led by African scientists, showcasing the leadership role Africa can play. Regarding the claim that foreign collaborations mostly benefit external institutions, this isn't always the case. Many partnerships have actually resulted in technology transfer, capacity building, and infrastructure development within Africa. One such example is the Malaria Genomic Epidemiology Network, Malaria Gen, which has significantly built genomic sequencing capacity in African research centers, benefiting both local scientists and public health efforts. Now let's discuss our third and final point, potential benefits. Some argue that developing Africa-specific treatments should be isolated to the continent without global input. However, our response is that while Africa's genetic diversity is a key strength, diseases are not limited by geography. Many advancements in treatment, such as those for HIV, sickle cell, anemia, and malaria, have benefited significantly from global clinical trials and cross-continental research efforts. For example, the development of CRISPR-based sickle cell therapies were made possible through global funding and collaborative research between Africa and Western institutions. Regarding economic growth, integration into the global scientific economy is essential. Countries like Nigeria, through 54Gene, and Rwanda have demonstrated that local investment in genomics can flourish when partnered with global institutions. Rejecting global collaborations would slow this progress as African biotech companies continue to rely on international markets for funding, training, and technology transfer. Affordable healthcare is best achieved through knowledge sharing. African-led research alone cannot drive down costs without collaborative funding and shared resources. Rwanda's success in cancer genomics, for example, was supported by global partnerships with research institutions in the US and Europe. Finally, while self-sufficiency is a long-term goal, rejecting global collaborations could set African research back. We have seen this in countries that try to achieve self-sufficiency prematurely without sufficient infrastructure. The most effective approach is to prioritize local needs within global partnerships, ensuring both scientific sovereignty and advancement. In conclusion, Africa must strike a balance between self-reliance and strategic global partnerships to effectively advance genetic research. Rejecting international collaboration outright is neither practical nor beneficial. Instead, Africa should take a leadership role within global initiatives, negotiate fair and ethical collaborations, and ensure that local researchers and communities derive real benefits from every partnership. By doing so, Africa can drive its own scientific progress while contributing to global advancements. Thank you so much for listening, and now we open the floor for a Q&A session.